The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of ParaX, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
All these voices. All these voices. All these things you can't explain. All these painful memories. They keep haunting you and daunting me. It's just the ghost of you and me. It's just the smoke and gasoline. It's just the ghost of you and me. Of you and me.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Staring into the Abyss. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr., and with me as always, my co-host, old boy James Ash. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. How is everybody tonight?
On tonight's episode, I want to give you a kind of a behind the scenes about this last investigation that I put up on the channel. The video is titled something like Undisclosed Daycare in Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, or something like that. The basic story of this thing is one of our team members has family that works there, and they were concerned because there was reports that people were seeing a little girl spirit in the daycare in the evening time. Some of the workers there had reported seeing that, and there were just some activity was going on. They were hearing noises and stuff like that. And because the place was a daycare, they wanted us to come in and do an investigation to make sure that what was there wasn't something that was super dangerous and was going to hurt the children during the day. So that's the background of how we heard about the place and why we went there. Now I believe one video up so far on YouTube. There'll probably be a couple more coming because it was like 5 or 6 hours that we were there investigating, and we did a lot of different things. So when we first went in, our goal was to try to make contact with the spirit of the little girl and also to see if there was any other spirits that were there. And so what we did was we set up the Phasma box, which gives us a very good and very clear line of communication that you can actually understand what they're saying. There's a lot of different methods that investigators will use when they're trying to communicate through like a spirit box of some sort. Some are good and some are very, very bad. You have the old school spirit boxes, which basically it cycles through radio stations. Right, it'll go through the dial, and you'll get snippets of sound from different stations as it goes, and it does it very quickly. And the theory behind it is that the spirits are able to manipulate that to form words. The problem with that is it's extraordinarily annoying to listen to, because you don't just have the sound coming out, you also have all the staticky sound that goes with it. So what you're listening to is like a that's what it sounds like. And it's incredibly annoying to listen to. They came out with technology that can reverse the sound that comes from it. So you're not getting any actual words, you're getting just backwards words, if that makes sense. That was good because it eliminated a lot of the guesswork to whether that was actually something trying to communicate or it was just a random word that you heard. So you have that style. You also have ones that are apps like on phones and computers and stuff like that that will be like almost random word generators. They have a bank of words in their software. And the theory behind that is that spirits are able to select those words and cause the program to say them, and that way you can communicate. I'm not a huge fan of a lot of those, but that's an option. The Phasma box is something along those lines. It is software, but it gives you the ability to have these things actually form words and speak to you, and it's fairly good to understand. So it doesn't sound all distorted. You don't have the static. You don't have all the nonsense going on. It's just words. And if you're in a place that's active, then it can actually be a very good tool, because you can ask questions and you can get audible answers in the form of language that you can understand. So you're not relying on a REM pod going off or something, or Knox or something like that as a yes-no communication. You're actually able to have a conversation with whatever entities are in the building. So that's what we decided to do. A Phasmabox session, and we did an EVP session there as well. The EVP session was pretty interesting. We got some good stuff from it. But the Phasmabox session was way, way better. Because in the Phasmabox session, we were able to actually speak with multiple different spirits that were in the building. Now, a little bit of the backstory of the building: it wasn't always a daycare. It's an old building in historic Old Town, Harper's Ferry. That whole area there where we were is extraordinarily active. There's multiple sites on that same street that are known for the paranormal activity there. And a lot of it is very hostile and, frankly, very dangerous activity. There's one place that literally I was looking out the window while I was standing in this daycare, and I was looking at the building of the place I'm talking about. I'm not going to give names because I don't want anybody to be able to guess where this place is and what it is, because I called it undisclosed for a reason, because it's an active business. I don't want to screw up their business at all. But I was literally standing in the building looking out the window, and I could see this other place that literally they won't even allow people to go into anymore. It's so dangerous, because there's been some horrible things that have happened there. A girl actually tried to rip her own face off in that place because it was so bad. So they don't allow investigators to go in anymore. So that area is extraordinarily active, and it is populated by things that are usually not very friendly. We had concern going in that we could be dealing with something that could very well be dangerous, not only to our team, but more importantly to the children at the daycare. So we took this extraordinarily seriously. We did not treat this as just another investigation. This was important to us that we get this right. So we went in there and we did the EVP session first. And we got a couple words and a couple intelligent answers on the EVPs. I put that on the channel as well, I believe. If I haven't, I will. And then we decided to do the Phasmabox session to try to hone in a little bit closer to actually what was there and get a better dialogue going on. So we started talking, and we found out that there were 5 different spirits there of children. The ages went all the way from 3 all the way up to 12 of the different children spirits that were there. Now, when I say they were children spirits, that is because they told us that's what they were. Doesn't necessarily mean in every case that when something tells you it's a child spirit, that it's actually a child spirit. A lot of times, malevolent entities and demonic entities will masquerade as children in order to worm their way in and do you harm. So just because you think it's a spirit of a child does not mean that it's safe. You've got to be careful. And we took that into consideration, and we were trying to be very careful. So at first we were very, very careful. And we got these entities which claimed to be children, and everything was fine. There was no indication that anything was dangerous. There was no indication that anything was trying to do us harm. It seemed like we were communicating with the spirit of children. Now, one thing that happened early on is whenever I go on an investigation, we always have multiple different things going on. We'll have our regular filming camera, which is a video camera that has night vision capabilities, and we have IR lights and everything like that that goes with it. So we have that running. We also are recording with a phone, like a cell phone, recording on that camera. And we also usually have at least one, maybe two other cell phones going, doing Facebook Lives at the same time. So that the investigation as we're doing it is going out live on the channel on Facebook. And then we also have other cameras running in the background to capture as much as we possibly can. So I was filming with the night vision camera while we were doing the EVP session and when we started doing the Phasmabox session. But it would only film for a few minutes, and then for whatever reason it just got turned off. Now I was holding the camera. I wasn't pushing it to stop, but yet it stopped. And I didn't really have any explanation for that at first. So I would keep turning it back on and filming again, and then it would stop itself again. I had a full battery, I had an empty card, so it wasn't full, like storage wasn't full on it, and it was fully charged. So there was no reason why it should not work the way it's designed to work. I'd never had a problem with it really before, but it kept getting turned off. And I got a little frustrated, and I said, you know what, the hell with it. I'm not going to use this camera tonight. For whatever reason, it don't want to work. So screw it, and I put it away. And over the Phasmabox, the spirit of one of the kids started laughing about that and talking about how the camera was dead. It didn't work. And laughing about it. They thought it was awful damn funny. And basically told me in not so many words that they were the ones that kept turning my camera off because they thought it was funny. And I didn't think that was too damn funny because I'm here trying to capture this footage, right? And I don't want my camera turned off. I want the thing to work like it's supposed to work. So I started filming with my phone instead, and we continued doing the Phasmabox session. Partway through that, they started talking about this other entity called the One. That's what they called it. The children on the box, they called it the One. And as they're describing the One to us, they're talking about how it's mean and it's cruel and it likes to hurt them and get them. And understandably, we got a little bit concerned about this, and I was like, wait a minute. This is something that could be a problem for these children that actually go to this daycare during the day. So we kind of started digging into that a little bit and questioning about the One, and these children's spirits that we were communicating with seemed very scared of the One. They didn't want anything to do with it. And I started asking where the One was. And there's a funny part at the beginning of the Facebook Live that I put up on YouTube that starts out with me saying, go to the kitchen? I'll go to the kitchen, right? What had happened right before that moment was they were talking on the Phasmabox about the One, and I was asking where the One was. And they were saying, go to the kitchen. The One is in the kitchen. The One is waiting for you in the kitchen. And they kept talking about a fight, that the One wanted to fight and go to the kitchen to fight and all this stuff, right? So the point the Facebook Live comes on, I'm telling the spirit box, the Phasmabox there, I'm saying, I'll go to the kitchen if that's where the One is. I'm not afraid of this damn thing. I'll go in there and face it, right? So that's where the Facebook Live portion of the video actually picks up. So I get up and I walk out to the kitchen, and you can hear me saying as I'm leaving, don't attack any of these women in here, because we had multiple people there with us, and other people were there at the daycare, and I was saying, don't attack any of these people or any of these women while I'm gone. And the reason I said that was because what was happening was, before that, I would see stuff out in the other rooms, and it would look like a little child-sized entity running. It was very, very quick, and you'd only catch it for just a second out of the corner of your eye, almost to where you would say, did I really see that, or am I just seeing things? But you'd see it, and everybody else was able to confirm. Like Andy saw it several times, and Ronnie saw it a couple times. So there was confirmation that there was something out there that multiple people had seen, and it was heading towards that kitchen area. It kept running across. And so I would go out looking for it, and I walked around this whole place all by myself looking for it. and I never could find it, but I would hear it. I would hear something running around just in front of me in the other room, and I'd go into that room, and then I'd hear it in another room to the other side of me, and I'd go in that room. So it was like it was running away from me, or playing a game of hide and seek with me or something, to where I would hear it and go towards it, and it would be somewhere else. So I could never quite catch up to it. Well, while I was doing that, something was in the other room and would be attacking some of the women there and making them feel really, really cold and have like pains in their chest area. And they said that they would experience that the whole time I was gone, and then as soon as I would come back in the room, that feeling would completely go away and they'd be fine again. So that's why I had said on the Facebook Live video not to attack any of the women in there while I was gone, was because that had happened several times already that night. So I go out and I go into the kitchen, and I'm waiting for something to happen. And I'm saying, I'm here. You wanted me here. I'm here. Where you at? Basically. And I'm looking around, and that I included that in the video that I put on YouTube as well. The Facebook Live goes until the moment when I walk out of the room, and then I pick up the video from my camera as I'm walking out there from my phone, and I kind of edited that into that Facebook Live video so you would get to see what I was doing at that point. And I'm out in the kitchen and I'm waiting for something to happen, and I'm calling out whatever it is that, you know, the one or whatever that was in that kitchen that wanted me to come out there for a fight. I'm out there. What are you going to do? Right? And of course, nothing happened. Nothing. I could hear stuff going on over in the other room, so I walk all the way through the kitchen and off into the back area all by myself. I walk all the way out through there and try to see what I can see. I don't see anything, so I make a loop and I come back to the main area where everybody else is. Well, when I got back to that main area, they were telling me once again that they were having chest pains and cold chills. And as soon as I walked in to the room again, it went away. So we were concerned that the one was some sort of malevolent entity, or at the very least a mean ghost that was messing with all these other ghosts. So we're talking about who the one is, where the one is, and then we get to talking about how they were making people feel cold and having chest pains. And the entities on the Phasma box kept saying over and over again, chilly wind. That's what they kept saying. And come to find out, chilly wind was a game that these spirits were playing with the people there, where they would blow on them and they would say chilly wind. You would hear a blowing over the box, and then you would hear them say chilly wind. And when they did that, the people would get really, really cold chills. And so we learned that was their version of some kind of game that they played with each other and with people that were there in the daycare. So then I got to thinking that maybe the one is a game as well, right? Maybe it's not some evil spirit or some demonic entity or some malevolent entity or something that wants to hurt somebody. Maybe, just like chilly wind, maybe it's just them playing another game. So we started questioning along those lines of whether or not the one was a bad spirit or something that was trying to hurt somebody, or whether it was a game. And my working theory on that, we never really got definitive answers on it, but my working theory from the questioning that I did, the impression that I got from it, was that when they are talking about the one, it was their version of a tag-like game. Like in tag, when you're the one that's it, you have to run and get everybody else in order to tag them to make them it. And from my questioning of these spirits, that's kind of what came across to us. That's the impression that I had, that the one wasn't in fact some evil, dangerous entity that wanted to hurt anybody. It was simply one of them that was it at that moment. And the one that was it was in the kitchen. And none of them wanted to go out to the kitchen because they didn't want to be it. They didn't want to be got by the one. That's kind of the impression that I got. Now, we could be wrong because I did not get confirmation of that from the spirit box. But that is the impression that was given through the questioning. They said a lot of things that made me think that, and the way they answered a lot of the questions that I asked made me think that it was just a game that they were playing. So that's my working theory on it. Through the whole thing, we never really had any indication that anybody was trying to hurt anybody. You know, there was no feelings of dread. There was no feeling like these entities want to do us harm. They were actually very, very friendly. And they enjoyed talking about music and stuff like that. There's even one point where one is coming on talking about music, and that their favorite music was rap music because they got to hear some of it while they were there at the daycare. Somebody was playing it and they liked it. And I asked that spirit what its name was. And it said in a funny voice, it said, "My name is 50 Cent," like that. And I started laughing because your name ain't 50 Cent. Get out of here, right? But this spirit claimed to be 50 Cent, which obviously it's not. The dude's not dead. But I just thought that was a very funny thing that happened. And the night was full of things like that. It wasn't in any way feeling like anything was dangerous or going to hurt anybody. And that also led to my theory that potentially the one could just be their version of tag, because they had multiple different games like that they would play. They told us that their favorite toy was this old barn toy that was on the shelf. And essentially what that was is like one of those little puzzle games where you have to take the proper shape and put it through the proper shaped hole in order to get it to go through. And that's the one they like playing with the most. I picked up one of those see and says where you kind of pull the little lever and it says, "The cow says moo," and it has like a picture of a cow and then it goes moo, that kind of thing. I picked one of those up and I was pulling it, and it was talking about a duck saying quack. And then we heard over the Phasma box, the spirit said quack in response. We did one where I pulled it again and it was talking about a goose, and it said goose over the Phasma box. So they were actually interacting with the toys with us. And basically by the end of the night, we had learned from the questioning and learned from the spirits there that they were happy where they were. They weren't in any pain. They weren't sad. They enjoyed being there at the daycare. They enjoyed watching the children play. And then once the children went home for the evening, they would enjoy playing with all the toys and emulating the different games that the children played during the day. And that's, I think, where Chilly Wind came from. I think that's where the one comes from, is they would watch the kids play tag and kind of came up with their own version of it. And I think that it was more playful than anything else. I don't think that there was anything there that wanted to do anybody harm, that we could tell. From all of our questioning, all the responses we got, we never got anything that made us think that anybody was in any danger. The spirits there like to have fun. They like to play games. They like to play jokes on people. And they thought it was funny. And that's about what we got from the spirits that were there. But along the way, towards the end of the night, we had something kind of interesting and very, very cool happen, because we had a spirit that Andy had run into a couple weeks ago. And when he was there, he actually saw the spirit and everything. And he came back here to Virginia, and that spirit followed him. And he was actually able to communicate with it again over the Phasma box. And so that spirit was claiming to be, and I'm not going to get too deep into this because I don't know really how he feels about me talking about it, so I don't want to overstep anybody's privacy or boundaries here. But I mean, it's on camera. It's on YouTube. I put it on there. It's in the episode. So I'll talk a little bit about it. That spirit used to be with Andy. It was the mother of one of his children when she was alive. And when she was alive, they had come up with a word that in case one of them died and they tried to communicate, they would have to say that secret password in order for the other person to know that it was actually them. and not something pretending to be them. So as Andy is talking to this entity, he is saying, that he had seen her before up at the other place, and she said yes, and she was saying that she was guilty about the way things ended, how she died, and all that kind of stuff, and he was telling her you don't have anything to feel guilty for, and it was really a beautiful moment. And then towards the end, he asked the entity what the word was. He said, when you were alive, we had a word that we agreed would be used in this exact circumstance if one of us was to die. What is that word? You have to prove to me that you're who you say you are. What is that word that only we know? And over the Phasma box came that word. And Andy acknowledged, that's it. That's the word. That's the word that we agreed on. So it appears that he actually did have contact with the mother of one of his children, that a woman that he loved very much when she was alive, and she did actually come back and communicate with him over the Phasma box at that daycare, which was super cool. And it also kind of is evidence and proves something that I've long thought. A lot of people think that spirits are trapped in a certain location, but this shows that they're not necessarily always trapped in a certain location or trapped in a certain object, that they can travel, they can freely move, they can cross from that dimension to this dimension at any point that they choose, really. Now, I don't know exactly how it works. I don't think anybody does. But our working theory is that there's some sort of doorway that leads between our dimension and their dimension, our realm and the supernatural realm, that they're able to pass through. And they can do so at different points. So it's not like they have to be stuck in this one location. They can move to other places if they want. And that was proven at that investigation, and I got it all on film. And you can watch it on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/James Hershey Jr. That's where that episode is. I just put it up less than a week ago. So it's there for you to see. It was a very cool moment. And I was very impressed with the fact that entity was able to use that word, that secret password that they had come up with for this exact situation. So that was towards the end of the night. By the time the night was over and we ended things and turned off all the equipment, packed up all the gear, and went home, the general consensus among everybody was that yes, the place was haunted. The place did have activity, but and that activity was fairly substantial. It wasn't like just a tiny bit. I mean, we had active conversations over the Phasma box. We saw full body apparitions in the place running around. So everything that they said and more was going on. So they were completely validated that yes, this was a location that was haunted. But the more important question for the owners of the place was, are these things dangerous? And in our investigation, we really didn't see any semblance of anything that would be dangerous. There was more of a playful trickster kind of vibe than it was a dangerous vibe. At no point did I ever feel attacked. At no point did I ever feel in danger at all. We did have people getting the chills and having chest pains, but we later established over the Phasma box when we were questioning the spirits that they were trying to show a couple of the people there how they died. That they died of tuberculosis or something like that, something involving the chest and fever. And that's how they passed from the world. And the couple people that were being affected there were sensitive in some way where they were able to pick up on that. And it wasn't meant as an attack. It wasn't meant in a hostile way. They were just trying to get across to the people that were there that could pick it up that this is how they died. And once they acknowledged that that's what was going on over the Phasma box, and once we told them to stop doing it, that it wasn't something that these people wanted to experience anymore, it lessened a great deal to the point where it was almost gone. and there wasn't too much of an issue with it after that. So I don't think that particular location had anything that was going to hurt anybody. Now, having said that, that is only based on our investigation that we did that night. During our investigation, nothing like that came across. That does not mean that there's nothing like that there, because it is an active location. But we did not come across anything that could be dangerous or would be dangerous, in our opinions, to anybody, because they didn't want to hurt anybody. One other thing we learned while we were there is that one of the children at the daycare actually has some psychic abilities and is able to see these apparitions. And the little girl that they had been seeing, we actually got to speak to on the Phasmo box. And she was talking about this little girl and even said the little girl's name, the living little girl in the daycare that can see her, and that they were really good friends. And that the little girl had been out for a few days because she had been sick. And the spirit was talking about how they actually missed seeing her and hoped that she was okay. So that was kind of interesting, that one of the children in the daycare could actually see at least this one entity, possibly more, but at least this one entity the spirit could actually see, and that the spirit missed seeing the girl, like they were friends or something. And that was kind of interesting. But that was our experiences at the daycare. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw over to Old Boy and get his opinion on everything and see what he has to say about it. So Old Boy, go ahead, brother.
Sounds like they had one hell of a time. What was funny is during this time, I was watching them on video the other night, and James kept on saying, "I'm in the kitchen," I'm going in the kitchen. So I was joking. I was on their Facebook thing. They had a Facebook going, him and Andy. And I was joking. I'm like, "Get in the damn kitchen then." I was kidding with them because I thought it was funny. But I actually was at dinner with my wife and girlfriend. And that's a whole nother story. We don't need to go other than that. I'll just say that I live a different life than most people do. But I didn't get to watch a lot of it. I saw it. I couldn't hear at first either. There was a lot of stuff going on. So the thing I'm going to say is, if it was children, I have a very question if it was even children. And I know people are going to say, "Oh, yeah, you're going to say it's evil." They portray themselves as children. It could have been the whole time they could have been lying to you. I'm not saying they did. But them saying they like children kind of makes me wonder, yeah, of course they're going to say that because they're looking for their next victims. Because children are the very most easiest to manipulate. Like, have you ever seen the movie Annabelle? You know, we all know it was exaggerated, but, you know, there's a lot of stuff that's true about that. It could pretend to be a spirit trapped in a doll wanting to get out, and then you try to help it, and it really just tries to get, and it just gets out to torment you. A lot of people think that they're coming to invade your body. Not all demons do that. Or ghosts or bad entities, whatever you want to call them. Some of you have your opinions. They can just want to do harm to you. So I would be very eerie about that whole situation, because just because they're telling you something doesn't mean it's true. Especially when they're claiming to be kids. There's never really any good to that. I'm not saying it possibly could be something. But I would be very worried about if there's ever kids there, like you were talking about. I'd be very worried about that. And I know there isn't. And I know they have certain things going on. We don't want to talk about where it's at. Because, like I said, I only know what James has told me. I didn't get to see everything. I saw some of the video, and it was really interesting. So we deal with a lot of stuff, guys. I think James might have been talking to one of these things, but I also think it could have been something else. There's a possibility. And my opinions on it is, I would like to go. I can't go out there because I'm in California, guys, and he's in Virginia. So it's very hard to, it's not like I could just go down the street and go see what's going on myself. I'm going to have to, one time you guys are going to have to go back or see if you can get back there and wherever this place is at, because I can't say either, because we're protecting these businesses. But I would have to see the video, see you guys on camera and see what's going on, because I'd be very worried about the whole situation, especially when it comes to things saying they're children, because I've dealt with it here in California and they've never become children or something else. But the one thing, well, what that means is these were smaller demons and they're answering to one bad one. But they're nothing to worry about. Them playing around with your shutting everything off, that's no surprise. They do that. Or it could be spirits trapped by this evil, the one, whatever. But the one, I'll have to look the name up on that because I've heard that name before. The one is somebody, like a higher level entity or demon, even fallen. It could be a fallen. And what people got to realize is they're not demons. Fallen, they're different. Fallen angels, those are different class. Those are stuff you don't want to mess with because you can't get rid of them. They'll keep coming back. But the one, I'm going to have to look, I want to look this up, and I'll see if maybe in the next a couple episodes I can give you the answer, or James can on a little, because he always does his little paranormal news, and he can do a follow-up on that. The one could be something else. That concerns me, that name. There's the one. The one could be anybody. And that name somebody goes by. So I'm going to have to look it up and research that, because that's very strange that was said. And you could be dealing with something on a whole nother level. When our camera guy and his daughter went to Penhurst, I think it was about 8-9 months ago. No, longer than that, about 10. They dealt with Bevel. Bevel is one of the higher anarchies of demons. Fallen angels, actually. He's there. He's one of the kings of hell. You know your stuff. And he called me out. I've never been to Penhurst. I'm from Pennsylvania, but I've never been to Penhurst. I'm living in California, and they were there, and this thing called me out. I guess nothing's ever done that before. We had our little conversation, and it's on YouTube on Christina's paranormal page, paranormal activity page. You guys want to check it out? I'm actually on there on her little group they had going, and she's also in Tells the Abyss, Staring in the Abyss. That's our the paranormal group, and that's on her page. You guys can see me battling this demon called Bevel. I'm probably screwing up the name, but he's somebody, and he knew me. And this isn't the first time this has happened. Me and James got called out. I think it was in Virginia or West Virginia in a hotel room by something. We deal with stuff on a higher level, guys. And I'm telling you right now, if we ever get on, and I know there's still a lot of stuff that's coming up, and we'll talk about that later on the line. But we do have opportunities coming where we could do something very extreme that you've never seen before. People have tried it, doesn't work. There's a lot of people who cannot dealing with the most extreme stuff. And we're willing to try it. We'll actually not try, we're going to do it. I promise you. And what I deal with here in Victorville, the Wraith, I've dealt with Azazel, I've dealt with Elizabeth, I've dealt with a couple other of them. They either attack my crewmen, make people sick. They're nothing to play with. And it sounds like there's something there, but James says he doesn't think there's any malevolent there. But if it's saying there's a one, there is something there, or something they answer to. They haven't really showed you everything yet. And that's what I think. And that's just my opinion. Maybe wrong. I'm just giving my opinion. That's what he asked, and I'm telling the man what he wants to know. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, yeah, James, I totally 100% agree with you. Then we wouldn't have a show. Or it'd be quite boring because we'd be agreeing about everything. And we all know we don't agree with everything. So, that's my concern about it because of that. You know what? You might want to look that up too, James, because I know you like to do research. That name I've heard before. And we have done a lot of research on demons and fallen angels and the ancient ones. And that could be something even darker. And you got to remember, some of these things, they have their minions, and they have things that, they just, they're nasty. They don't care about you. And that's why I try to tell people, when we go out and do this, people, oh, well, what about you? You're supposedly the Satanist or warlock, wicked, whatever you want to think I am, I deal with it. Yes, I do. That's your opinion. But I do know what I'm doing. I've dealt with this all my life. I deal with demons on every day, almost. They're nothing to play with. James deals with them all the time in a different way than I do. They're not his buddy. They don't like him. They don't like Andy. Trust me. They like to play games with them too. And with the whole group. They call him out here in California. And James has never been in California. Things call him out here. So they know who we are. There's no mistaking. We've been called out West Virginia, California, Vegas. I tried a little bit. We got called out there. I'm telling you, they don't go. It isn't like, oh, well, they're in Pensacola, Florida. They ain't going to see them there. They know we're there. Trust me. They know we're there. They called me out everywhere. So, I wasn't there again, and I wish I was. That's the only thing. And hopefully, eventually, we are going to start doing stuff like bigger things are coming our way. That's all I can tell you guys. And I'm so privileged to do this show and to make all you guys happy on Parax Radio and Staring into the Abyss and Tells the Abyss. And if we get to do what we want to do, you're going to be even more happier seeing us get chased by creatures, ghosts, whatever. And it's worth it because I'm not scared of this stuff, man. I don't scare easy. Neither does James. I'm not going to say nothing scares me because everything's scary. Some things scare you. Like losing family members and stuff like that, or kids. That scares me. This stuff doesn't scare me. There's not a lot of people like us that can deal with this. And I'm not saying I'm better than anybody or, oh, I can deal with this. I'm just saying that I've been in so many bad situations in my life and had bad things happen that it doesn't even bother me no more. Like, it's like a normal way of life. The only thing I'm worried about is other people getting hurt around me. And that's the only thing I worry about when I go out, because I know this stuff has hurt some of the people I've been around. And stuff has happened after them in life, and all kinds of other stuff has happened, like bad mishaps and accidents, and just things have happened. And I know it's because of that. This stuff takes a piece of your life away. And trust me on that. It took me a while to come back and do all this stuff again, because a lot of bad things were happening. I had to cut off for a year and take a break from it, and I did. It's going to wear you out. You're never going to be the same. I'll never be the same as I was 5-6 years ago. I'm not the same. There's James. This stuff takes a lot out of you, and it's not fun all the time, guys. For months, I've had to fight things, and it's not as bad as it used to be. But if I'd go to sleep, it would be a living hell because stuff would try to attack me. I have things protecting me, so it doesn't really bother me because I'm used to it. My wife, I have to watch every day because stuff travels. She travels out of her body like it's Insidious. And that's one day I'm going to actually have her on the show and she can tell you guys. That would be a great show if James lets it, to have Jackie explain what she does. It's like the Insidious movies. In Sixth Sense, it's kind of weird. And she does stuff like this. So maybe we can get that as a show one time, if she wants to do it and James wants to hear that, hear her talk about all this, because it'd be a very interesting show. But that being said, I'm going to let you guys go for the now and let James go ahead and finish his couple minutes we have left, guys. There we go.
Another thing that happened there that was very interesting that I completely forgot about until old boy said he was at dinner. During the point when he was eating dinner, he had told Andy that he was at dinner, I think over the Facebook Live, typed it in. And Andy had asked the spirits on the Phasma box, because they were talking about old boy. And he asked if they knew old boy and if they knew what old boy was doing right now, where he was, what he was doing. And the spirits plainly said over the Phasma box that he was getting something to eat. So they could see that he was eating out at a restaurant, which I thought was really, really interesting. And then we asked them if they knew where Old Boy was from. And one of the spirits said Compton and started laughing. And I said, well, that's kind of close. He is kind of close to LA, so it's in that general area, I guess, within an hour or two. But it wasn't exactly right, but I think it was meant as either an insult or a joke towards Old Boy because they laughed about it afterwards. So I thought that was interesting as well. And I forgot to talk about that when I was talking about what had went on, because I completely forgot about it until he said that he was out eating during this moment, and then I remembered. But as I said at the end of when I was speaking earlier, our assessment that there wasn't anything there that wanted to do harm was based on what we experienced that night, was based on the responses that we got and the feelings that we got while we were there. And also, as I said, it could be wrong. It could be something completely different. But they just didn't show us that side while they were there. And there could be multiple reasons for that. Maybe they don't want to be found out if there is something there that's dangerous or bad. Because kind of what we do, part of what we do is go around and take these things on and do exorcisms and do break attachments and that kind of stuff. We help people that are being attacked by demons a lot, because we have a guy on our team who is actually an exorcist that does that for the church. And so that is something that we do quite a bit. So maybe if there was something there, like Old Boy is saying, the one, if that is something bad, maybe it knew that that's what we did. Because, I mean, like Old Boy said, these things call us out all the time. I've been called out in California multiple times on investigations they do out there. They've said my name, James Hershey. They've said my name on investigations here, called me out by name. And they've called Old Boy out by name here. I mean, they literally, in this investigation, it's on video on YouTube right now, they said that Old Boy was getting something to eat. So how would they know that if they didn't know who Old Boy was and wasn't able to see him and what he was doing at that moment? So maybe the reason why they didn't show us anything bad was because they didn't want us to come back and get rid of them. That could very well be a reason behind it. If there was something that wanted to do harm and could even potentially be something that is demonic, that is controlling these either lesser demons or just spirits. If that was the case, maybe the reason they didn't show themselves was because they didn't want us to come back and do a blessing on the place and do an exorcism and consecrate the ground and all that. Maybe they didn't want that to happen because they enjoy it there. So they didn't want us to come back and get rid of them, so to speak. That could be the case. See, the funny thing is, you never really know. You do the best you can, you do the investigation, and then all you can do at that point is tell the people that wanted you to do the investigation, the client, you tell them what you found. This is the experiences we had. Here's the video. Here's the audio from the EVPs. This is what was said. This is what we experienced while we were here. According to all of this, you don't have something here that's dangerous. But always, when you're saying that, you say, but that's only based on what we found that night. That does not mean that there's nothing here that could hurt anybody. That's an important distinction to make, because it's not an exact science. All you can do is the investigation, and you share the results of your investigation. This is what we found while we were there. Now, if there is something there and something bad happens again, because bad things happened before it was a daycare, that's why those spirits were there, because they said that they died there of tuberculosis when they were kids. So if something were to happen again there, or somebody gets attacked or something like that happens there, then obviously you've got to hold different set of data points that you have to figure into the equation. But as of right now, from what we experienced while we were there, we didn't experience any of that. Now, the area that it's in, as I said earlier, is a dangerous area. That area has a lot of activity and a lot of bad activity. So it is possible that some of that could make its way down there as well. But all you can do is the investigation, and all you can do is share the results and say, hey, this is what we think. This is what we found. This is what that says. But also keep in mind that this could be a potential problem as well. That's really all you can do. And then it is up to the client to decide for themselves what they want to make of all that and what they want to do. I can't make the people leave. I can't make them shut down their business. I can't make any of that stuff happen. Especially you can't if you don't have any actual evidence you can show them that proves that there's something dangerous there. You see what I'm saying? So basically, we didn't find anything dangerous. I don't feel that there was anything dangerous there at the time we were there. And if it was hiding itself. There were several things during the night, like wanting me to go out to the kitchen to fight, that kind of raised a red flag to me and made me say, wait a minute, what is this? Why is this thing calling me out like this? But when I went there all by myself, it did nothing. It ran away. So is that something just playing mind games? Is that something just messing around? Or is that something that is a spirit that is just having fun? And when I get there, it runs away. Because I'm not going there to play a damn game. When that kind of stuff happens, I'm going to be honest with you guys, there's a switch inside me that flips. And I'm no longer nerd guy. I'm no longer the fun-loving gentle giant. I am now ready for war. Because that's what this is. When I go in these places, it's spiritual damn warfare, and I'm there to kick some ass and to help people. And it's a completely different mindset when it goes there. On a normal investigation, it's all good. Let's get some answers. Let's talk. Let's figure out what's going on. But once there's a determination made that something is dangerous or demonic and wants to do me harm, it's a completely different conversation at that point. I'm there to do battle. And that's kind of where I was at that moment, because I thought this thing is calling me out. It wants to do me harm. It's in the kitchen. It's saying it's waiting for me. It's basically saying, come on, if you got the balls. Well, I got the balls. And I went to that kitchen all by myself. And I was there and nothing happened. You know what I mean? So that could be the simple fact that whatever it was there that called me out to that kitchen didn't want to face me once I got there. Because it knows the track record. It's seen what we've done in the past. It's seen us get rid of things before. It's seen us go into battle and come out victorious. So maybe it didn't want any piece of that. And don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm some badass. It's not my power that gets rid of these things. On my own power, they're going to rip me to shreds 100 times out of 100. It's the power of God that gets rid of these things. And that's what we bring to the table. We're able to do exorcisms. We're able to bless the house. We're able to even consecrate the ground like it was a church if we wanted to. And that is what these things are afraid of, not me. They're afraid of God. And they know when I go in there and I'm ready to do spiritual battle that I got God there with me. You know what I mean? And that's what they're afraid of facing. And maybe that's why they ran off. And maybe that's why they didn't show themselves in a way that would make us amp it up to the next level and really do something to get rid of them. Because what we went there for was not to do battle originally. What we went there for was just to figure out what was going on and to let them know if there was anything bad happening there that we could see. So with that being said, that's all the time we have for tonight's episode. I'm going to throw it back over to Old Boy for his shout out.
Thank you, brother. I'm glad you enjoyed the show on Parax Radio every Sunday nights and the best of show on Tuesday. Just so everybody knows, I didn't even know this about what the thing called me out to right now. He didn't tell me. I was already off. I was only there for a couple minutes watching and I got off. So that's news to me. So he didn't even tell me. I'm just finding out just like you guys. So thank you guys. And thank you, James, for letting me know that. Now I want a piece of this. So that being said, you guys want to listen to our show on James Hersey's YouTube page, check us out, subscribe. You guys want some merchandise, go get some shirts, all kinds of cool stuff. He'll tell you where to go. I think it's teespring.com. I think I finally got it right. If I didn't, he'll correct me. Staring into the Abyss, teespring.com. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I did. I hope you have a good weekend. It's almost spring, so enjoy it. Misfits, Sugar Ladies, Monster Hunters, and Demon Lovers, I love you, and have a great night. And blessed be.
The YouTube channel is youtube.com/James Hershey Jr. That's where everything is. That's where all the episodes of Staring are. That's where all the episodes of Tales are. Paranormal News is there. Everything is there. It's 100% free. Please go subscribe, enjoy. In the description box of every single video is the link to the merchandise store. It is on Teespring. It used to be teespring.com/stores/staring into the abyss, but they changed the address of all the stores on there for some reason, and now it's a bunch of stuff that is hard to remember. So if you just go to the description box on the YouTube channel, you can click the link. It'll take you right to the store. You can get whatever you want there. There's tons of cool merchandise there for Staring, for Tales, for all of it. Thank you guys for hanging out with us again this week. Thank you for listening. Let us know down in the comment section when this hits YouTube what you guys think. As always, it's up to you to make up your own mind. And we will catch you on the next one. Until we speak to you again, love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do we. Bye-bye.